Today we are going to talk about simplifying fractions and exactly what that means. Okay, so let's pretend you're really hungry and you have decided you are going to eat this entire whole candy bar. Okay, you would never be hungry and say, oh my gosh, I am going to eat 2 halves of this candy bar. That just sounds silly because 2 halves is the same as 1 whole. You would just say, I'm going to eat 1 whole of this candy bar. It's the same thing. If I split it again into fourths, so we have 4 equal pieces, you would never say, I am going to go eat 4/4 of my candy bar. You would just say, I'm going to eat the whole thing. So simplifying is kind of like that. You want to be able to simplify things in the most simplistic terms just because it makes more sense. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do that with fractions. So the first example that we're going to talk about is 3/3. This one is just like the candy bar example. If we have 3/3 of something, we have the whole thing. 3 complete thirds would equal 1 whole. So the simplified way to write this is just 1. If you ever have the same number in the numerator as you do in the denominator, you're always going to have 1 whole. Okay, let's move on to some that you're going to see a little more frequently. Okay, let's do 10/12. So the first thing that you want to do is ask yourself, what number goes into both 10 and 12? Even if you don't know all of your math facts, you could see that both of these numbers are even, and 2 goes into all even numbers. So I am going to take these and I'm going to divide them both by 2 or cut them in half. So 2 goes into 10 5 times, and 2 goes into 12 6 times. So I took both of these numbers and I divided them by 2 or cut them in half. Now, I'm going to ask myself, is there any other number besides 1 that goes into both 5 and 6? And there's not. So 5 and 6 is going to be my reduced answer, 5/6. So when I did this, I didn't change the value of 10/12. 10/12 and 5/6 mean the same exact thing. This one is just split into less pieces and it's simplified, and that's our goal. Let's do another one. Let's do 12/20. So I want you to try and think, what is the biggest number that goes into 12 and 20? So if you're thinking of all the facts and you know your math facts, you would think, well, 1 goes into 12, 2 goes into 12, 3 goes into 12, 4 goes into 12, 6 goes into 12, and 12 goes into 12. And then if we're thinking of all the things that go into 20, well, 1 goes into 20, 2 goes into 20, 4 goes into 20, 5 goes into 20, 10 goes into 20, and 20 goes into 20. So the biggest number that goes into both of these numbers is 4. That's the largest number that goes into both. Then you're going to ask yourself, how many times does 4 go into 12? 3 times. How many times does 4 go into 20? 5 times. And there you have it, 3/5. If you don't know all your facts, there's a little other trick that I like to do. Let's pretend we did not know that 4 goes into both of those numbers. If both of your numbers are even, 2 always goes into it. 2 is kind of my go-to number, okay? So 2 goes into so many numbers, all even numbers. So you might think, how many times does 2 go into 12? 6 times. How many times does 2 go into 20? 10 times. And then we ask ourselves, are we done? Is there any other number that goes into 6 and 10? And I notice they're both even again. So what number goes into all even numbers? Yeah, 2. How many times does 2 go into 6? 3. And how many times does 2 go into 10? 5. We get the same answer. So even if you can't think of the biggest number that goes into both of those, try starting with 2. Let's do 24 27ths. So 2 will not go into these because this one unfortunately is not even. The next number that I kind of try and think about is 3. I try and start with my smaller numbers because they go into more numbers because they're smaller. So let's think, how many times does 3 go into 24? You could always count with your fingers, you can use a calculator, but I just know 3 goes into 24 8 times. Okay, how many times does 3 go into 27? 9 times. And there is our answer. There is no other number besides 1 that goes into both 8 and 9. So that means that we're done. Let's do a difficult one. 51 eighty-fifths. Yuck, I hate thinking about this. Okay, so these are odd, so 2 can't go into them. 3, I think 3 goes into this one. I do not think 3 goes into 85. Okay, so if 2 and 3 don't go into them, I start just thinking of prime numbers. Prime numbers are just those weird numbers that only 1 and itself go into. So the next prime number I think of is 5. 5 doesn't go into 51. Then I think of 7. No. And then I try thinking of maybe 13. 13's one that goes into, that's another prime number. And then I land on 17. And I think 17 is the one that goes into both of these just because I'm pretty fluent in my math facts. But I can use a calculator to double check. I could do 51 divided by 17, and that is 3. And then let me see if 17 goes into that one. 85 divided by 17 is 5. Okay, so 17 is the number that goes into both of these numbers. 17 goes into 51 3 times, and 17 goes into 85 5 times. And there is my answer. So if 2 and 3 don't work, kind of start thinking of those prime odd numbers. Let's do one more. Let's do 30 24ths. Hopefully right away you saw that both of these numbers are even. So what we could do is we could just cut them in half or divide by 2. So half of 30 is 15, half of 24 is 12. Do you see another number that might go into those numbers? 3. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 12 4 times. So our answer is probably 5/4. Now I want to reduce that even further. I know that 4/4 make 1 whole. So 5/4 would give us 1 whole with 1/4 left over. Okay, if you didn't do it this way, you may have thought about this and knew that 6 goes into both of those numbers. So you could have done it that way. 6 goes into 30 5 times, 6 goes into 24 4 times, and then you wouldn't have this missing step. I just wanted to teach you that other way how to do it, just in case you weren't fluent with your math facts. So 2s and 3s are always my go-to numbers that I think about when I'm reducing. So there you have it. These are both considered the right answer. This is our mixed number, and this is our fully reduced fraction. So you probably could do it either way. I hope you learned a lot. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to my channel below. Bye!